Welcome everyone to round 1 of May 28th, Star Wars Limited Local Night over at Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. If you guys are looking for a place to play some Star Wars Unlimited, check out Valkyrie Vault in Brownsburg, Indiana. Thursday nights, 6 p.m., $5 entry. And for this special day, most of the community decided to all bring Maul as a little tease to our normal Maul LOF Force Blue player. You've seen him plenty of times at many of the top tables of round 3 trying to win all these events. So we all decided we're all going to bring Maul. We're all going to have some fun. We did have 2 people join the locals that did not bring Maul, this being one of them being Boba JTL Yellow. So we're not going to really discuss either of these leaders. We've seen them plenty of times on the channel. If you by now don't know how these leaders work, you've been all living under a rock, and congratulations for living under that rock for this meta. But anyways, yeah, that's all we have. We have spaceships versus the Force. So let's see who's going to get game number 1. And overall, this match. So anyways, here we go for, of course, we're going to start off with the Targaryen Starhopper, and then we're going to go for a secret stage. It is interesting to see we have a Boba Yellow player instead of a Boba Lake Country. Lake Country is kind of right now the more preferred method to play Boba Fett. It's a lot of people's preferred method currently in this meta right now to play Lake Countries. We're going to save Targaryen attack for 2, and then we're going to have the Secret of Sage punch in for 2, creating the Force. Then we're going to go for a droid missile platform as well. Again, that's a 4-2. Both of those on death do trigger indirect damage. The Targaryen on death does 2 indirect damage. The droid missile platform on death does 3 indirect damage. Those both do trigger Boba Fett's effect here is we're going to go for no disintegrations. Again, you deal damage until there's 1 health point left on the unit here, and then we're going to have these Targaryen Starhopper get killed, and then we're going to have, of course, 3 indirect damage coming at our Maul player here, as they're going to take 2 from the Targaryen plus the 1 from Boba Fett, because again, non-combat damage is being dealt there. Again, 2 on base, 1 on the Secret of Sage, and the indirect damage does not protect against shield, so it goes right through it here. As we're going to have the droid missile platform attack, then we're going to go for the 𝐼G-2000, and then we're going to kill off the shield there, and then we're going to trigger Boba because non-combat damage was dealt. And then we, of course, have a couple other things we can do here as well, as we do have the Thousands Assassin right now, which is not too bad. It's not the best play right now because there's no way for you to generate the Force twice, so you could go Thousands Assassin, generate the Force, have Force generated, then attack with a Force guy, and then go for Maul's effect to immediately kill off both, because here the Thousands Assassin is just going to go and kill off the droid missile platform. They're dealing the 3 indirect damage to Thousands Assassin, because again, Boba already burned his effect for the turn. But yeah, if you had another Force user, you could have gone Thousands Assassin, give -3/-3 to the 𝐼G-2000, and you could have killed both off with Maul. Anyways, then we're going to go have the Punishing 1 kill off, of course, the Thousands Assassin here, and then 1 indirect damage from the Boba Fett here. Once again, the Punishing 1 on play goes first before the Boba Fett triggers here, so you can't just put the indirect damage on a dead guy anyways. Then we're just going to go swing the Circuit of Sage, and then we're going to do 2 damage, and we're going to deal another 3 here from the 𝐼G-2000. Then we're going to go no glory on the results on the Punishing 1, just so that doesn't get out of hand, because it's on attack. Deal 1 damage to a unit, and for each damage unit your opponent controls, it gains raid 1. So meaning if your opponent has 2 damage units, you have raid 2 on your body, because again, raid stacks. So it's able to stack completely there to, if you had 4, your opponent would get 4 here. So we're going to flip the Boba Fett, and then it's going to immediately going to be a burning its effect just to kill off the Secret Stage with 1 more damage, but nothing you can do about it. Having the Boba Fett in space isn't all that bad here. We're going to go for a Grand Inquisitor, and then we're going to swing 7 at the base here with the 𝐼G-2000. Then we're going to go flip the Maul. As a reminder, Maul's front and back side are not, you may ping 1 and 1. No, Maul's effect is you must ping 1 and 1. So if you ping 1 unit, you have to ping another as long as there's 2 units to ping, and does include yourself. Does include units on your side of the board as well as himself if anytime he swings, as long as you control 2 units. So it's a little bit of an interesting fact of the matter that he kind of pings himself. But again, there are kind of ways to do it. You could do Revan's lightsaber here. As we're going to see the 𝐂𝐻 come down, and that's going to freeze the 𝐼G-2000. As long as the 𝐂𝐻 is flying in space, then the Boba is going to be, that 𝐼G-2000 is going to be rested here, as we showcased, of course, the necessary colors. So we're going to see the Guerrillas attack the IG. Again, Guerrillas does 3 indirect damage on play, and if any of that damage is sent to the base, they do get to restand here, which is always a pretty interesting thing here, as we're trying to figure out what what exactly what a Boba player wants to try to do to deal with that Cantwell cruiser in space here. So we're going to go for, of course, Fet's Fire Spray here, then on play deal 2 damage. It normally does 1 indirect damage, but if you control a Boba upgrade unit or leader, you can then do 2 indirect damage instead. So a couple of interesting things we could do here. Again, Boba cannot, the IG-2000 with Boba Fett itself cannot restand because the Cantwell is still standing as a unit right now. So even if you kill the Cantwell, you still unfortunately do not have really a way to restand the IG-2000. As we're going to go for a Devastator to immediately kill off, of course, the Fet's Fire Spray or Slave 1 if you're an OG Star Wars fan here. We're going to go for Death Space Skirmisher, resting down the Cantwell, and then we're going to go for, of course, the Maul swinging into the base here. We're going to ping 1 on the Death Space and ping 1 onto the IG-2000 so that we don't have that. And then, of course, we're going to deal the 5 damage. Our opponent now puts out finally the 5 damage marker. Here I would have thought that Boba Fett would have had a good chance to win this one, but it looks like Maul has just got a good control factor right now that it just can't get through, with the Devastator being able to direct indirect damage wherever it needs to go. And the Cantwell is completely able to freeze down that IG-2000. So even if the Cantwell dies, the IG-2000 doesn't even get to restand until the next regrouping phase, which is still a pretty cool effect. So I mean, if your opponent has another Cantwell, you can do stuff like that. So anyways, it looks like we're just going to go for an immediate attack strategy here. We're going to go for Devastator to swing in, dealing a whole lot of damage, and that will basically kill them unless they can deal with the Maul, because that is 25 right now. Maul has 5 attack points left. 5 attack points, and we're going to go for the Kamagori heavy fighter here, and then we're just going to immediately scoop that one up because there's not much they could do. So they could just take the damage anywhere they really wanted to go, so they could put it on a Devastator and then basically just pass up from there. Close game on there, with basically the Maul only having 1 health point left with that. But anyways, Maul is able to claim game number 1 against Boba JTL. Let's jump into game number 2. Here we go, folks. Game number 2. Let's see how things change here. As we're going to go for a TIE Bomber, then we're going to go for a Karis here, which is already pretty nice. We do have a Boba Fett taking initiative here as both our sides go for their next 2 major draws. Then we're going to go for, of course, the TIE Bomber, 3 indirect damage on the attack, plus the 1 extra indirect damage from, of course, Boba there, taking 2 on the base, and then 2 to Karis, and then we're going to go for the Guerrillas. Ooh, that was a pretty strong combo because there's no way for any of that damage to go to Karis for survivability. Here is we're going to go for the HK-47 here, because again, you can't do indirect damage, cannot exceed the remaining health on any unit. So we're just going to have, it looks like the consideration of the Guerrillas going after, say, Karis or something like that, as we have the HK coming down in the board state here. I'm not exactly completely sure, but it is on Boba's play here what they want to do. But this is going to be very interesting here. So yeah, that's a very nice play there. They're going for the TIE Bomber. Instead of taking all 4 to the base, the Guerrillas being able to come down and then deal damage here. So it looks like we did have looks like the Guerrillas did go and kill off the Karis here, but that doesn't kill off the Guerrillas, and then we're just going to have them all just kill off the Guerrillas there. Then we have 1 more damage, HK-47, that was not seen here, but HK should have seen the death of the Guerrillas there and should have pinged 1 extra more damage point to that. But unfortunately, this does mean the Force is no longer with our Maul player, because again, the Force HK-47 does not have the Force tag. He just has Droid and the Sith tag, and that is it. So anyways, then we're going to go for the Kamagari heavy fighter, being able to then do 4 indirect. I think it's either 3 indirect. I think it's 3 indirect. So anyways, we're just going to go for the lesser power of Shadow Point there, if destroy a unit with 3 remaining health points left on it here, because again, you can't use really the Force for that. Anyways, but I would think honestly you want to use the Force. You would want to play like a 1000 Assassin and then kill off that. As we're going to go for Interrogation Droid. Interrogation Droid being used actually correctly here, where your opponent just discards a card out of their hand if they rest to a level 3 or lower. If the person who played the Interrogation Droid rests as a unit that's level 3 or lower. So we're just going to have a claim on, it looks like, for the Maul side. Nothing else they can really do. They've been choked out of the Force. And then we're having Beguile. Beguile is not correct. I've had many people correct me. Beguile, that back to the hand. Technically, our opponent should have seen the hand there on the Maul side, but I guess that's just a miss. And also, we technically have a miss with the HK-47 as well. We're going to go for no glory on the result, just removing any starship for Boba to jump onto immediately, so that if they really wanted to jump, he'd have to play a starship and then jump Boba onto that, wasting basically Boba's attack here. Is we're just going to have, of course, the IG-2000 ping into damage, and then we're going to ping and kill off the HK-47, and then that's basically it, with the 1 direct damage going at the base, and then we're going to have the 3 from the interrogation droid, then we're going to have Maul swing in and kill the interrogation droid, and then the IG-2000 creating the force, but that doesn't really overly matter for the fact of the matter that Maul on his backside really doesn't care if you have the force anymore. He just kind of exists. So it looks like Boba is going to take the initiative here again. There's not really a purpose for them to technically flip this turn because there's no reason for them to flip. They would be flipping onto a standard ship. Now, they could flip in to become a vanilla, but most people don't really flip JTL leaders to become vanillas. And then we're going to go for 4 damage. We have a 𝐒𝐓𝐀𝐘, and that's going to just be a straight scoop up there from our Maul side, meaning that we're going to go to that all-important game number 3. Welcome everyone to that all-important, delicious game number 3. Who is going to win it all? Here is we're going to go for a 𝐒𝐎𝐍𝐻, and then we're going to go for the TIE Bomber. And then that is going to be a pass again. Maul does have the initiative here, which is pretty nice. But again, they are taking a bunch of damage. They also need to be cautious, remember, to those guerrillas, because if the guerrillas come down at 3 and the 𝐒𝐻𝐻 can't take the any form of the indirect damage, that basically just puts the end. And 𝐒𝐻𝐻 is going to take 3 of that, and then we're going to have the TIE Bomber take 1 of that. And then we're going to try to figure out what exactly we want to do here. As a reminder, we do have no disintegration going after the TIE Bomber here, putting it down to 1 health point left, because again, that is all it does. And then we're going to go flip, and then it looks like we're going to, put out the guerrillas yet again. Talk about the pain of your opponent having exactly what to have it go for the bomber this time, and instead taking the full amount of damage. We're going to go for the 𝐒𝐻𝐻, and then we're going to use the force on the 𝐒𝐻𝐻 to immediately kill off the TIE Bomber. So we took 2 damage to the 𝐒𝐻𝐻 and 1 damage to the 𝐒𝐻𝐻 to the base from the guerrillas, and then using 𝐒𝐻𝐻's effect to immediately kill off the TIE Bomber there, giving it the -2/-2. Then anyways, we're going to go for a Shadow Point. Shadow Point's weak point there. Weaker effect here. And then we're going to go for a droid missile platform, and that then will be a pass there. Unfortunately, like I said, for our Maul side, they're getting right now choked without the force, while Boba is able just to constantly play whatever it wants to play. So we're going to go for a Atreus Acolyte again, being able to generate the force, swinging in for 4. And then we're going to go for a 𝐒𝐻𝐻, just getting a couple of bodies down there in the ground. But I think honestly there might just not be any real good chance for anything here as the Maul. It looks like our Maul side is just taking initiative here as well. So I mean, both player leaders are now capable of flipping. So here we're going to go the flip, and then we're just going to have a straight up concede. There's nothing the Maul player can do for the Boba side of it, especially now that it's going to do 8 damage, and it has the ability to use its 4 damage where it can get split 2 and 2, and then if they have topple the summit, then go topple the summit to basically kill out, or even send the 𝐒�𝐻𝐻 to immediately allow for the attack of 8 damage onto the board. So again, a little out of pace there, unfortunately for Maul. Unless you get a force unit out to generate you the force on a constant basis, there's not much else you could really do there. So with that said, guys, Boba JTL Yellow takes the win, and I believe this player also won the entire event, which shouldn't be very much surprised considering it is Boba JTL Yellow. And it's still Boba JTL. He's still a very good leader, even though it's really kind of out of the coloration that you typically think of Boba when you think of the current Boba JTL decks running around. A lot of them are on Lake Country. But nonetheless, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the gameplay and on the decks down in the comments. And while you guys are commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you know if my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mom Dragons TCG.